Well, hello there, and I do hope you're all well. This is the next one. As I said, talked about the next one to hold our James Not So Cleverly's feet to the fire was Anne-Marie Morris, MP for Newton Abbot. Now, she was elected as a Conservative, but has had the whip withdrawn from her twice. Now, I don't know what that's about, but once in December 2017 and again in January 2022. And looking at she's an incumbent, so I get the feeling she's still had the whip removed. Now she decides to quiz our James Not So Cleverly about the triggering of Article 16 and when do you think you will be? And let's just say it was just quite humorous watching him look to the sky, look his expert Justin Braithwaite, look at anybody for help. It was just hilarious.
Thank you, Chairman. Does the government believe that the conditions that currently exist to trigger Article 16, given all that you've said?
Well, the Prime Minister said a number of months ago, I think perhaps almost a year ago.
Yeah, he said a lot of things, most of it all absolute baloney, but never mind.
That the situation as we see with the current standstill position would be legitimate grounds for triggering Article 16. We're very conscious that that is a significant thing to do. We are very keen to get a negotiated settlement with the EU that resolves these issues, but ultimately Article 16 exists for a reason.
Look at her face behind him as if to say, you're lying out of your arse, James.
Those community tensions in Northern Ireland are real, and we have committed to do what we can to alleviate those tensions.
As if to say, that's not what you said the other day.
Exactly when, exactly how, that's a level of detail that I'm not going to go into today at this committee, but we are very conscious that things need to be resolved.
So, Minister, the government...
Yeah, is that look at this? What the hell's he on about?
is committed to Article 16 still being a tool which it will use.
It's there in the agreement. It exists for a reason. It exists because problems, even though specific problems were not necessarily envisaged, the idea that there may be a need to resolve differences and disputes and to address issues, whether it be trade diversion, community cohesion related issues. Article 16 exists because those potential challenges were envisaged. So, of course, it is relevant. It is there for a reason. And from the UK government point of view, we've always made the case that we will look at resolving those issues. We're not just going to sit back and be passive and allow these problems to intensify.
And, Minister, has the possibility of triggering Article 16 been used actively and discussed in your negotiations so that, if you like, those involved in the negotiation on the European side are well aware that we are serious and this is something which we will use?
What do you think his answer is going to be? Yes, of course, we've told them straight away. You don't give us what we want. It'll be rule Britannia. Britannia waves the rules, and we'll break them in limited and specific ways.
Yeah, so I think the point is, and I don't want to imply this is your starting point, but this isn't a point of negotiating leverage. So we're not saying if we don't get our way, then we'll do this thing, as a leverage point. What we're saying is there are problems. These problems are real and intensifying. Article 16 exists as a means of addressing these problems. Those are facts, and we are going to have to look at ways of addressing these problems. Our desire, the best way of addressing these, is for the EU to give Mr. Šefčovič a bit more flex in his mandate, to negotiate to get a negotiated position with regard to the protocol that works, and then we can get on with. A whole load of other really important stuff that we want to get on with. That's our desired position, and this is the point we have made. But ultimately, what we have said, and as I say, I'm not going to go further in terms of what and when and how. But ultimately, we do have to resolve these issues because they are getting worse.
Before you come on to the next point.
Now, unfortunately, you're going to have to bear the expertise of Bill Cash and his unfeasibly large plaster for a couple of minutes, sadly.
Answer the question, if I may, Anne-Marie. I also just wanted to refer back to the appalling situation which we witnessed over the question of COVID regulations when Article 16 was actually used by, albeit only for a short space of time, by the EU in a...
It's not going to let it go, is it, Bill Cash? How to get that one in?
manner which gave an impression of being both aggressive but also completely unreasonable, so that they have track on this. I heard Mr. Byrne, the Europe Minister for the Republic of Ireland this morning, I think it was, on the Today programme, or was it last night, indicating that that was just a sort of passing moment and it would all be shelved. And I think he more or less said, but I wouldn't like to be completely clear about this at this stage, that he thought that it had been disposed of. My understanding is that it's actually still part of the legislative arrangements within the EU, albeit it hasn't been used, I accept that, but the very implication of the manner in which it was done then, without any justification,
all I can see in my head is Garth Crooks doing his interview with some footballer.
But have you got any comment on that?
Well,
maybe Mr. Braithwaite would like to come in as well.
I've met with Mr. Byrne, and unsurprisingly, we discussed this issue. I absolutely take him at his word. I have no reason to doubt the sincerity of the point that he has made. I think in that. On the one hand, it feels very immediate. On the other hand, it feels like a different universe. When we were in the middle of that,
I know how Mr. Burns feels.
International response to COVID, when decisions were made, very, very quickly. I think there are things which, in the cold light of day and with the benefit of hindsight, we might do differently. I suspect from I didn't hear the interview, but from the conversations I've had with him and what you relay from his interview, I think that sounds, if it echoes his position. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but it sounds if it echoes that position. We continue to have a strong bilateral relationship with Ireland. I can't remember the exact date, I'll be visiting Ireland soon in my ministerial capacity. And we want to work towards an outcome where things, where the utilisation of Article 16 is not necessary. That is our desired outcome. But at the moment, our view is that the thing that will resolve that, the best and most effective way of resolving that
is if Britain rejoins the single market and the customs union. Isn't that right, James Cleverly?
There's a bit more flex on Mr. Sefcovic's negotiating mandate, getting the amendments, getting the changes to the protocol, getting those negotiated changes, and then we can get these things resolved. That's our desired outcome.
Thank you very much, Anne-Marie.
Thank you, Chairman.
Oh, this is a belter of a question.
Is the government considering the introduction of legislation to disapply parts of the protocol in domestic law? And if so, when and what will it cover? And I'm not asking you, Minister, to tell me what's in the Queen's speech, but I am asking you to tell me whether the government is seriously considering such legislation which would disapply the protocol in domestic law, and whether we're looking at something short-term, long-term.
Well, as I said,
does he show that bulldog spirit, that get up and go attitude? No, I don't think so.
I'm going to go back to the kind of answer that I gave really to your question on Article 16, which is, we are driven by a desire to resolve the issues that we can see building up in Northern Ireland, particularly these community tensions in Northern Ireland.
Why don't you just say you're not going to commit, James?
We are looking at the best and most effective way of doing that. We have said that we are considering what options are available to us. I'm not comfortable going into any more details because, as I say, we are discussing and thinking about the best way of doing this, protecting the things that we want to protect. So we want to obviously protect, trade and commerce in Northern Ireland. We want to protect our international relationships, but first and foremost, the most important thing for us is we want to protect peace and security in Northern Ireland.
Minister,
I'll leave it here because for two reasons. Now she goes on to taxation and all that stuff and about sovereign states and blah 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 blah. She does a bit of a Bill Cash, goes a bit long-winded, and the video's gone long enough, and so I shall leave it here. Now I'm not sure if there'll be any more from this cross-party committee. I might have another little look around, might see another bit of a belt of it to show you, but if I do, I'll do it. If this will probably be the last one. But as I've said, if that were Diane Abbott doing that absolute kamikaze car crash, I think we all would have heard of it, wouldn't we, by now, especially in the Daily Fail and the Scum. Right, I shall leave the video here until the next time. I shall bid you farewell and take care.